Good morning, children. Today I am going to explain you the poem which you people have already written along with the technical terms and word meaning. And the title of the poem is Today I Wrote This Poem. The poet of this poem is Ken Nesbitt. Children, Ken Nesbitt was born in 1962 in California, USA. He is a popular children's poet who writes simple and humorous poems. Now I will continue with a brief introduction about the poem. It is a poem about poetry writing itself. The poet in this poem explores and questions what makes a good poem. The poet is worried that his poem is not good enough and that his teacher might not like it. He mentions almost all literary devices and forms of poetry, such as metaphors, alliteration, personification, haiku, and similes, without really using any of them in his poetry. The language is simple and yet the poem is amusing. It makes you believe that anyone with an honest intent can write the poetry. The poet writes the poem sincerely. He is rewarded by his teacher who likes the poem and rewards him with a good grade. Now, children, the poem sends a wonderful message that one does not need to use fancy devices, techniques, and difficult forms to write good poetry. A good poem written with simplicity will always be appreciated and loved by everyone. With this, I'll begin with the interpretation and explanation of the poem. Today, I wrote this poem by Ken Nesbitt. It's an amusing poem in which the poet has beautifully described his poetry writing skills as well as experience. In the first stanza, he writes that when he wrote the poem, he was not sure if it was good enough. He thought that if he showed the poem to his teacher, the teacher would find many points and must comment that literary skills are missing in this poem. Children, now in the second stanza, the poet writes that he thought that the first point the teacher may find was lack of true deep feelings missing in the poem. The teacher may not find figures of speech such as metaphors and similes used in it. In the third stanza, he doubted that the teacher may also find any narrative or story or alliteration missing in the poem. So the teacher may point out that the poem missed the poetic devices too. To continue with the fourth stanza, the poet thinks the teacher may also find any narrative in it. Alliteration was also missing, and the poem did not belong to any type or category. The poem could neither be classified as acrostic, nor diamante, nor haiku. Now, children, in the fifth stanza, the poet writes about other essential poetic and literary elements missing in the poem. The poem did not have personification and plot. The only poetic element it had was rhyming scheme. And in the fifth stanza, the poet continues that despite all missing elements in the poem, the poet defends his poem by saying that he liked writing it, that he enjoyed it, and it was long enough. He regretted that he could not put all those literary elements in it. The poet also doubts and apprehensions were put to rest when the teacher read out the poem and appreciated the poet's sincere and rhythmic effort. The teacher was so happy with the effort of the poet that she awarded him the grade A plus 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 plus. So finally his work was appreciated by the teacher. He got motivation to do better in future. So children, I'll conclude the explanation with the line that teachers and elders in the life of children are like boosting elements. They motivate the children to do better work. They motivate them to be positive. They motivate them to do wonderful and good work in all spheres of their life. Thank you. Children, just note that in the fourth stanza, the teacher may not find any narrative in the poem. Actually, the word not missed out due to some recording glitch. So, it is the teacher may not find any narrative in the poem. Thank you.